When we got divorced, it was an amicable decision. We had a conversation and we decided we're not going in the same direction. Rather than hurt ourselves and hurt each other and pull each other, let's rather go our separate ways, because that would be healthier. And my belief is that some of the choices and decisions were made in spirit before we were born. So maybe we did choose to be born. Maybe we did choose our parents. Maybe we did choose some of our experiences. Until you accept responsibility, it will be very difficult to change anything that you want to change, including healing. The child is made up of half the mother and half the father. So anything you're saying negatively about the father, you're saying about your child as well. Love wins. Because I'm saying that because I look at my son and my husband now, and I always think they don't have to get along. They don't have to have a good relationship. They're doing it because of me. I'm kind of like the glue in the middle. And even when they are angry with each other, he will still play the fatherly role of making his breakfast or his lunchbox or cooking for him. Or, you know,
because some be like,
the basics that are there, he continues with the basics. You know, greeting him, even if he's not greeting him back, you know. So that's one thing I respect my husband for, which is, wow, this man, he's got amazing resilience. When he said he was an exceptional man, he meant it. He was right. You know?
Dumelang, welcome to Bond and Blend with Maletsalo, the show that presents both challenges and joys of blended family lives. I am your host, Maletsalo Nguchiavanaring. Guys, can we please subscribe? Can we please show this channel some love? Rolling. Like when I always say, we have to share the word. And for algorithm to pick this channel and run with it, it's only when you hit that subscribe button and making sure you press the like, you interact, and then it will drive it as fast as we can. Then it will reach the right ears. Okay? Nyancela asum live. A wise man once said, a family, it's not whose blood you carry, but it is who you love and who loves back. It's all about love. Meaning family can do much, or even blood can do much if there is no love. In today's episode, we will be unfolding a journey of a beautiful lady who is driving her blended family. Guys, we are all advocating our blended family lives, and it's important to hear other people's stories so we stay hopeful and being motivated to run with it. Sis Bulelwa, thank you so much for making time.
You are welcome, and I'm very happy to be here. It's a privilege. Thank you for inviting me.
Nice to see you.
It's nice to see you too.
I'm so excited to see her, guys, because these are the people that I talk with on the social media, and when you see them live, it feels so super cool, and which I did not know. I experience it every time I speak to someone, and then I come across them, and they be like, Maletsalo, and I'll be like, it's you, and it feels so beautiful. Nyabonga says,
it's amazing.
Tell me, what's your favorite song?
Wow. Gosh, right now I don't have a favorite song per se.
Okay.
But
the one that speaks to your soul?
I listen to music from a group called Beautiful Chorus. It's more like mantras and affirmations. So yeah, that's why I like their music. Yeah.
Affirmations.
Yeah.
How powerful are they?
Affirmations are very powerful because our minds are always thinking.
Sure.
But a lot of the times, if we haven't been made aware, we don't know that our minds are always thinking these thoughts and repeating them.
Yeah.
And when you use affirmations, you're being intentional about what thoughts are running in your head and what scripts are running in your head. So that's the power of affirmations. You know, if you repeatedly say things to yourself, you believe them and you live them, whether consciously or unconsciously. So it's better when it's intentional and chosen by you.
Sure. So, then how frequently can one do affirmations?
Daily, all day long, if possible.
Throughout the day.
Throughout the day, whenever you are away. Whenever you become aware of what is happening in your head, when you're alone and you're working or you're doing house chores, just be aware of what script is running in your head.
Yeah.
Be aware when you're facing challenges. Be aware when you've messed up.
Yeah.
What is the script that is running in your head? If it's negative, stop it and say
affirm
something
yourself.
more affirming and more encouraging to yourself.
What are your top 3 affirmation? Like, beside whatever situation that you go through, Sis Bulelwa, now we have and then do you have things that you say to yourself? What are your top 3?
I start with the day by saying thank you. Thank you for the day. Secondly, it's going to be a good day.
Yeah.
And thirdly, I am worthy of love. I am worthy of love.
Sure, but it's going to be a good day. Prophesy your day. Say it.
Yes.
It's going to be a best day.
Yes.
And you will start seeing the best in that.
Let me share with you why
Yeah.
I decided to do that. I listened to a video of a guy, I think he was a neuroscientist, I don't remember the name now, and he was giving a speech and he says that God gives us a gift every morning, a gift of new cells. Our bodies are renewing themselves every single day. We're just not aware of it. And those new cells are waiting for you to give them direction. If you wake up thinking, oh God, it's Monday, they're like, okay. Oh God, it's Monday. They go with your attitude. They go with your tune. If you say, it's going to be a wonderful day, they're like, oh, okay, it's going to be a wonderful day. And they follow your tune. So we are busy conditioning ourselves. Every day you're busy conditioning yourself. What kind of day you're going to have, what kind of experience you're going to have. So if you think like that, wake up thinking like that, I have an opportunity every morning to be intentional about how my day is going to be, to participate in what life is going to present to me, and take that opportunity.
Clearly, there's power in that.
There is.
Now what I know, it's the power of tongue. And now having it to say it with my mouth, speak positivity first thing in the morning, then you're setting yourself into good things.
Yeah.
Sure, guys, don't just wake up and be like, I don't want to go to work. No matter how you feel, speak positivity about it. It's going to be a beautiful. I just love this one that says it's going to be a beautiful day.
Yeah.
Because everyone is looking forward to a beautiful day.
Yeah.
I'm always looking forward to a beautiful day.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So God or culture? Tradition? Or a bit of both?
God first. God first. Creator, whatever you believe in, creator first, because culture changes.
Sure.
Culture is negotiated among us as human beings.
Oh, yeah.
We need to decide, what works. For me, culture is not static. A culture that is static for me is a culture that doesn't work, because it means there's no flexibility, there's no adaptation, there's no adjusting, and we can't survive like that.
No, we cannot.
We live in a world that is constantly changing, and our culture needs to change along with the changes that we're naturally going through. So if culture is static, then
God remains.
It doesn't work.
Sure. But mudimu front lining. A verse that you run to when blending a family seem hard?
I don't have a specific verse.
Okay.
It depends on what I'm going through at a particular time, but not only Bible verses, but quotations, from other people.
Or quotes as well. Yeah,
quotes
will
will pop up, to encourage me.
What's your quote?
So let me think. Particularly right now, I don't. Okay, one that has been running for a while is, nothing is impossible. Even the word itself says, I'm possible. For me, what that means is, when a situation looks impossible, when a problem looks impossible, when a challenge looks impossible, look at yourself and say, what do I have? What has God given me? What gifts, what knowledge, what support, what people do I have in my life to contribute to the situation? And sometimes it's not necessarily solving the situation, but it's regulating yourself through it, so that you go through it patiently, you go through it healthily, Yeah. So yeah, that's
I love that quote. Nothing is impossible. And just behind you there's a quote that my mom always carries and believes in. It says, with God, all things are possible.
yeah.
I love that. Take me back into your childhood life. Bulelwa, where were you born? Do you have siblings?
Yeah. When I think about you, it makes me think about the blended family thing. And I got to a realization that this is actually not new.
Yeah.
It's always been there. It's always been there. Because when I look at my life, I grew up in Wedela in Carltonville, a small mining town that kind of is on the border of Gauteng and the Northwest for people listening in South Africa.
All right.
So growing up, I wasn't aware of it as a child, but I have an older sister who's much older than me. She's 18 years older than me.
Oh, okay.
When I was young, I didn't even realize she was my sister. I thought she was my aunt. She lived in Joburg full time, and she would visit home once a month, twice a month. And I lived with my mom, my father. I had a younger brother, and I had someone that I thought was my younger sister, and it turned out she was actually my sister's daughter.
Ooh.
And my mom was raising her.
Okay.
So you see, there's already a blended family there,
Yes,
because and also my older sister, has a different father. So, and even that I didn't even know until later in life, So that was the family set up. And in the household, we also had a lady living with us that I always just thought was an aunt. And only later found out that it wasn't even a blood relation, So yeah,
this is beautiful.
We live blended family lives in many different ways, So that's the kind of home I grew up in.
Home of love. There was love. Like I could sense love.
I love my childhood. I loved my childhood. There was such innocence. There was happiness. There was support. There was love. There was care. I mean, when I think about those years in primary school, in higher primary, my neighbors were like family. My mom was a nurse, so there were times when she would work from a 7 to 7 shift, 7 in the morning and 7 until 7 in the evening. And my father worked in the mines underground, so he was a miner. When we wake up in the morning, he'd be gone, and would only come back around 4 in the afternoon. So during school holidays, when we're not in school, there wouldn't be anyone to really look after us in the house. The things of nannies and childminders were not common in at that time. But the older kids next door were like older brothers and older sisters.
Oh, that's beautiful.
They would look after us, and it was safe. We would play all day, and your parents come home, you're safe. You've done your chores, and it was just.
It's the village that stepped in.
Yes.
It's when they say it takes a village to raise a child. Now we're questioning ourselves. I saw this other post on Instagram. Someone was asking, where is the village? Because it's like I'm raising this child alone.
Yeah, that's
so
sad.
You felt it.
That's
you felt
sad.
the village.
Yeah, I felt the village, and I think the wonderful thing about it is that we were not even in a traditional village in the sense that we were in town, but all coming from these different places that we were coming from. I think these ones were coming from the neighbors on the right side were coming from the Eastern Cape, and the neighbors on the left-hand side were coming from the Northwest. But somehow we managed to create a community. We managed to create a village around us.
No, that's beautiful. I always say, a child that grew up in the village and the village was involved, you can tell.
Yeah.
You can tell because it's sad how now things are turning out, where we have kids that I cannot reprimand as a neighbor, and they feel uguti, my mom is not here, I can do as I please, and we're losing beautiful kids that have purpose, that God has purpose with. But because when you are always at work, you don't have time like your parents did, abantwana bakho, they tend not to be safe anymore because now us as parents, we're teaching our kids, there's no other parent who should tell you otherwise. Hence, while you will go reprimand, you'll find that child telling you, you're not my mom, you're not my dad, you can't tell me anything. And we're losing our beautiful babies. Guys, maybe we can do better as community. We can do better as a village and rework that lifestyle.
Yeah.
What is self-care to you?
For me, self-love, self-care is a journey.
Yeah.
You've heard it said, love is a verb.
Yeah.
Love is doing.
Yes.
Right? So, yes, I think most of us, when somebody asks you, do you love yourself? Most of us will say yes. The first answer will be yes.
Yeah.
But when you love something, you get to know it. You nourish it according to what it needs. For example, I think the easiest example that we always make is a car. You know that a car needs petrol. You know that a car needs oil. You know that a car needs water. You won't put petrol where the oil is supposed to go or oil where water is supposed to go. You know exactly each compartment that is required. And you can see cars that are loved, that are taken for service. The wheels are replaced when they need to be. It's cleaned, it's washed. Maybe it goes to the car wash every week, And
it lasts longer too.
It lasts longer. So it's something like that with ourselves as well. It's getting to know ourselves and loving the parts of us that we concluded in growing up that are unlovable or unacceptable. Maybe people gave us feedback and we concluded that, okay, I need to hide this part because it's not lovable. Maybe you were told, papa, so you try to shut yourself down so that uska papa gagolo, or you were told, umobe, you're ugly, so you try different things to make yourself look beautiful or to make yourself acceptable. So it's learning to love those parts, and also understanding that part of the human journey is about growth, meaning that there are things we don't know, and it's okay to not know. It's okay to start from zero and learn something. We are imperfect, we have darkness and light inside of us. We have good and bad inside of us, So part of self-love is being able to accept yourself holistically, that I'm capable of dishonesty. I'm capable of selfishness. I'm capable of hatred. I'm capable of unforgiveness, and it's a journey to learn to accept that there's a place and a time for each of these characteristics and to forgive myself, to accept myself, and to treat myself like somebody who's worthy, somebody who's worthy of love, somebody who's worthy of kindness, somebody who's worthy of effort. And you will know about effort. I love myself, but am I taking care of my body? Am I putting into my body what my body requires to function optimally? Yes, I should eat tasty food, but is the tasty food also nourishing for my body? Am I making myself sick with the things that I put in my body? So we can't say we love ourselves when we are destroying
and we're not doing the love,
and we're not giving the care to different parts of ourselves. We've got mind, body, and spirit. So we need to take care of all three: the mind, the body, and the spirit.
Since Bulelwa, as you're speaking, I'm starting to question my love for myself. And I'm like, this lady speaking, and I see myself loving other people, accepting them for who they are. And now, did I ever accept myself at that level? There are certain things that I can't sleep because I'm constantly thinking about them. I need to change the shape of my legs. I need to, then clearly, I should start saying no when someone asks me, do you love yourself? Be honest.
I am learning.
I am.
So because it's not a complete no.
It's not
I am learning to love myself. And remember, I said it's a journey. So to also have compassion on ourselves, because who taught you? Who set you down and said, you need to love yourself, and this is how to love yourself? You know, we're all learning as we go along, you know. So when you become aware of something, which I'm too critical of myself, that moment is a moment of change to say, okay, I'm not going to be critical of myself anymore. Or every time I realize I'm being critical of myself, I'm going to stop and say something encouraging to myself, you know.
To you guys, self-love is a journey. And clearly, according to how Usis is saying it, sounds like a hard work. Sounds like an effort that one needs to put in. What is healing? And I'm asking these questions, self-love and healing, because I feel most of us, we don't know those things and we don't know what to do. And when they say I'm healing, what do they mean? When they say I love myself, what is it exactly? We think we know. Oftentimes we don't, because honestly, everything begins with us. So the self-love and the healing, it's a personal journey that will benefit the people in your circle, the people that you say you love. What is healing?
So if you think about a physical wound and the healing of a physical wound, it depends on the wound, right? Sometimes you have a small cut, you don't need to do much to it, just keeping it clean and it will heal itself. Sometimes you have a bigger wound, a gash, you know, that is deep and needs for you to care for it so that it doesn't become septic, it doesn't become infected and actually spread, and, you know, you end up losing your whole hand because you didn't take care of that wound. So spiritually and emotionally and mentally, we also have wounds that don't come from physical affliction, but experiences that we've gone through that have hurt us and wounded us. Some hurts are easier to heal from, to forgive and to move on from them, and to think, okay, maybe that person didn't mean what they said, or they didn't mean it the way that I perceived it, or they didn't know any better, and you're able to move on. And there's some wounds that are deeper, where you are so deeply affected that you lose confidence in yourself. You don't believe that you are lovable. You don't believe that you can achieve the things that you dream about. And those become a hindrance and they stop you from living a happy and fulfilled life. Then you need to do more work to heal those wounds. And the work is firstly being aware. You need to be aware that I have a wound or I have wounding in this area. And then you investigate, where does the wounding come from? And then there's acceptance. I know this part is difficult for all of us because we think, I didn't choose to be born. I didn't choose my parents. I didn't choose my experiences. Okay, granted, but we get to a point where, okay, firstly, let me go back to, it depends what you believe, but my belief is when God says he's given us free will, he means it. We have been given free will. And it might not be obvious in the physical life that we're living, but before we existed as physical beings, we existed in spirit with God. And my belief is that some of the choices and decisions were made in spirit before we were born. So maybe we did choose to be born. Maybe we did choose our parents. Maybe we did choose some of our experiences. So that brings me to the part that I'm saying is hard to accept, and that is we have responsibility for ourselves and our choices and our lives. Until you accept responsibility, it will be very difficult to change anything that you want to change, including healing. If you don't make a decision and accept that I have a part to play in this, like if you say I didn't cause this problem, therefore you don't have the power to change it. You know, but if you are able to get yourself to a place of responsibility and say, I have a role to play in this. Maybe I was a child and I didn't have much knowledge, but I also made certain conclusions about my situation, or I made choices based on the conclusion that I made about myself as a child, and those choices I made as an adult, and they have affected me negatively. So if you can say that I also made certain choices, you can say, now I can choose differently. Now I can choose differently, and because I can choose differently, I can change my situation. I can change the way I look at things. I can change the way I feel about things. You know, it's kind of like forgiveness.
Yeah.
You know, we were always told that forgiveness is not for the other person. It's for you. It's a decision to say, I'm going to let this go. I'm going to accept that this thing has happened.
Yeah.
It's in the past. I cannot change the past. But I'm not going to allow it to shape who I am and define my life going forward. I'm choosing differently. Even if I was told that I'm going to amount to nothing, I'm going to choose to believe that they didn't know any better. And I can amount to something, and I'm choosing to amount to something, and I'm going to define what that amounting to something is. So that is healing. It's having those conversations inside yourself. And when you feel stuck, when you feel like I don't have progress, then you find people outside of yourself that can support you on that journey, that can help you to see things from a different perspective. And it also requires openness.
Yeah.
You know, if you're not open, you're rigid,
Yeah.
you're not flexible, healing is going to become difficult because you're going to hold on to things that might not be serving you anymore, that are not working for you anymore. So it requires an openness of saying, I'm willing to change my mind. I'm willing to change the way I see things. I'm willing to accept.
But awareness first. Be aware of areas that you want to heal, because you can't heal something you don't know.
Yeah.
And then take accountability.
Yeah. And also our lives are always talking to us. You know, I think one of the things I like about growth and becoming more modern, we learn new words all the time.
Yeah.
There's this word of trigger now. You know, if something triggers you, your life is talking to you.
Yes.
It's saying, look at this.
Yeah.
Look at this. You know, if something triggers you, it means it's important for me. It means that there might be a wound there that needs to heal. You know, so if you watch your life will tell you, maybe you're ready to heal. Maybe you're ready to look at this wound now. You know, so that's where the awareness comes from as well.
Oh, yes. I see the trigger fella, because but wrong they just use it. One trigger, you just triggering me. You're making me this evil person that I don't want to be. It's your life speaking. I love that. It's your life speaking and say, look, you did not address this. You need to address this. And we just love it. Now and again, I'm being triggered. No, don't say that. It triggers me. Don't say it. You trigger. Oh, I love that.
And we're triggered so that you will see. It's like a measure.
Yeah.
You will see once you have healed from that thing, it won't trigger you anymore. Yes. I'm sure any of us can think of stories where when you used to tell this story, it used to make you cry.
Yeah. Like it happened yesterday.
Like it happened yesterday. But if you when you are healed, you talk about the thing and it doesn't evoke emotion anymore.
Oh,
you
my
don't
God.
feel the same need to cry or to be angry anymore. Then you know you've healed.
That's a sign of
from that
healing.
thing. Yeah.
Oh, bagitini zwili. If it still makes you feel the pain, it did not heal. Ooh, I love it. Yeah. I love it. How many kids do you have, Sis Bulelwa?
I have one biological child, a son who is 17 years old, and I have 3 stepchildren.
Ooh, beautiful.
From my husband.
Okay.
A girl, gosh, who's 21. 21, a boy who's 20, and a girl who is, my son is 17, she's 15.
Ooh.
15, yeah.
I want us to talk about the first son, your biological child. How was the dating journey there? What really happened that you decided to leave the relationship? What happened?
When I met my first husband, I was young.
Okay.
I was young. We got married when I was 22, 23.
You were young.
So I was very young, and I didn't know myself yet.
Okay.
I didn't know what I really valued. And I would like to assume that he was also young, and he also didn't know what he wanted. And when we got divorced, it was an amicable decision. We had a conversation and we decided we're not going in the same direction. Rather than hurt ourselves and hurt each other and pull each other, let's rather go our separate ways, because that would be healthier. So that's what happened. We just realized that we had different priorities, different values, and we were not heading in the same direction.
Yeah.
So
Like, it's okay to grow apart.
yes.
It's highly okay, and which I believe it's part of self-love. I always say divorce for me, it's part of self-love, meaning I know what I'm worthy of, and at this point I am not gonna do it for anybody, be it my child. We live our own lives. Hence someone just said, God borrowed at us the kids. Modimo o re kadimile bana. It's not like it's your child. Ke ngwana Modimo o kadimile. And it's his choices and decision about your child's life. It's never ours. So it's important also to fill in our cup. How did you find co-parenting after the separation with your first, your baby daddy?
You know, I think we need to have honest conversations. You know, that things don't always work out the way we envision them or the way we think they would work out. You know, I thought that when we were married, we were friends, we got along, we talked. Even in co-parenting, we will discuss things, we will agree on things, you know, but it didn't turn out that way.
That's not always the case.
It didn't turn out that way.
Sure.
There's no structure to our co-parenting.
Okay.
I had to decide at a certain point that when my son goes to his paternal family, I have no say in what happens there.
Yeah.
I had to trust that they love him.
Yeah.
And whatever they do, they're doing it out of love, and they're doing it because they believe that's what is best. If it turns out not to be best, as you said, not only do children belong to God, they also belong to themselves.
Yeah.
We belong to God, but we also belong to ourselves.
Yeah.
Meaning God has given us sovereignty to make decisions and choices over our lives. So I decided that my son is a sovereign being. He will grow up. He'll have input from my side. He'll have input from their side. And as he grows up, he will take from the best of both worlds, and he'll make the best decisions for himself. So there was no co-parenting in the sense of talking regularly, talking about the child and how the child is. I talked more with his mother, my son's father's mother.
Yeah.
We talked more because she decided. When my son was born, it's the year that my mom passed away. My mom passed away when I was pregnant with my son. So she decided she was going to play a motherly role in my life, and she was going to be an active grandmother in my son's life.
That's a blessing.
So that was a big blessing. That was a very big blessing, because for the first 3 years of his life, I was basically like a single parent, you know.
Yeah.
And she said to me, every second weekend, you're going to bring this child to me, and you're going to have a break because you need a break.
That's beautiful.
So that's what happened. And his father got married to somebody else. And I think, I can't speculate about what the situation was, but I could see that there was a challenge in taking my son to him.
Yeah.
And I could see that I can't force issues. You know, initially I was forcing issues. I was like, I'm traveling, what on these dates, you're going to take the child, you know.
Because also you need a break. Someone must come and be present.
Yeah. But at some point I realized that this is not working, you know. There's something not working, and he's not, for whatever reason, he's not able to talk to me about it. So let me not force issues. Let me leave him. When he's able and ready to take the child, he will call me. He knows he has a child. He will call me and he'll say, I'd like to see the child, or please bring the child, or I will fetch the child, whatever, you know. So I decided to lean on his mother, because his mother was making herself available.
Yeah.
So every second week I would take my son to her, and he would spend the weekend there. Or if I'm traveling at work, there was a time when I was traveling at work. If I'm traveling, then I would take him to his grandmother and she would look after him. And even now, we have a very good relationship, me
that's
and
beautiful.
the grandmother, because she just decided she was going to play that motherly role.
She chose to
So-
love.
She chose to love. She chose to love. So I would say we don't have co-parenting in the true sense of co-parenting, as in discussing things and making decisions together. We're kind of doing it separately. You know, I have to believe that he's doing the best for his son when his son is there. I'm doing the best for my son when my son is with me. You know, so yeah. But the one thing I'm grateful for is it seems we both made the decision that we're not going to encroach on each other's spaces and create unnecessary conflicts. And I was very conscious and intentional that I'm never going to say anything negative about his father to my son.
Yeah.
And I think on their side as well, I don't see any negativity, you know, coming from my son because of something they said or whatever, you know.
I love what you just said, because most of ladies, it gets to a level where we can't even control ourselves anymore. Then you find yourself telling your child, your father's just useless because now you're facing too much hardship. And that contributes to the well-being of your child.
Definitely.
Actually, you're not doing anything to that adult. You're just destroying your child verbally and face-to-face.
Yeah. The thing is, we need to remember that the child is made up of half the mother and half the father. So anything you're saying negatively about the father, you're saying about your child as well, because half of them is that other parent.
Sure.
So that's something we need to be very, very careful about. You know, and it's your opinion at the end of the day. I decided it's my opinion about his father. You know, I don't know the details of his life and what is challenging him, you know, to play a more active role in the child's life. You know, and on that surface, on the outside, it might look like Munna o wa khona man, una de chelete, why asanthusi? You know, but you don't know the emotional, the mental, the spiritual things that are happening with the person. Yeah.
We are too quick to judge, and our expectations are always high.
Yeah.
Let's be gentle with one another in the co-parenting fold. It's not easy, and there's no parent who's doing it the best. We are all giving it our all, and if my all, it looks like 10% to you, still be kind.
Yeah.
Let's be gentle.
Yeah.
Shoo, what's your take on maintenance court? Have you been to maintenance court?
I decided from the beginning I'm not taking that journey.
Why?
I am not spending time and energy on that. And maybe in my situation, I could see that, you know what, it's going to be a futile fight.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm going to cause unnecessary conflict and unnecessary resentment.
Yeah.
I could see that he's struggling.
Yeah.
You know, maybe if he had money, I would have made a different decision. I don't know. But I could see that he's struggling financially and career-wise and in terms of his job, you know. And I just felt it's an unnecessary stress for him and for me, you know. I would rather he give what he can to his son. You know, if what he can give is peace, it's life lessons, it's attention, it's time, then
so be it.
Let him give that, you know. And if I say I believe in God, I believe in the universe, I believe that I'm taken care of, then let me put that to the test.
Sure.
And for as long as my son has been alive, 17 years, we have been taken care of. All our needs have been met.
Sure.
So that's a decision that I made. And I know that it's not everybody that can make that kind of decision, you know. But I would want to challenge women, you know, or even if it's the other way around, challenge you to be very conscious and very intentional about what you are doing.
Yes.
What are the results? What are the consequences of what you are doing, especially for your child?
Yes.
And how much energy are you really willing to invest in that fight? And are you getting the results that you're looking for?
Ladies, we are challenged, and gentlemen out there, we are challenged to go deeper into the decision that we are making. And oftentimes we don't go deep. We just think, wa bereka, and he must give me this, or she must pay for 1, 2, 3, and only to find out. Honestly speaking, I've never been to maintenance court, but I've heard several ladies that will say, even the money that he was giving me was better than what they decided on. Like it can even go that route. So indeed, be very, very careful. Let's go into your current life. How did you meet your significant other?
I met my husband when I think it wasn't popular yet. Dating sites were not yet popular. But we met online. We met online. I was new to Facebook, and there was this heart that would always be blinking on my profile. You know, initially I ignored that heart. I was like, what is this? But one day, I think, you know what I said earlier about how our lives are always talking to us? I think I must have been ready. I must have been ready to meet somebody. I was ready, actually, to meet somebody, because there was a point where I made a list, I prayed, I was like, God, this is the kind of partner I want. So I think I was ready emotionally, spiritually, to have somebody in my life again. So when that heart was blinking on my Facebook profile, I was like, what is this? So I went and I clicked on it, and it led to a dating site. And I was like, oh, okay. Let me try this, let me see. So I subscribed to the dating site, and I met a few people. And at some point I was deciding, it's not, I don't think it's working for me. I'm not meeting the person I want to meet. And on that Sunday morning, it was a Sunday morning, I was like, okay, let me go check for the last time, who has responded to any of my messages or who has sent me a message. And I found his message in my inbox. And I don't remember a lot about what was on his profile, but I remember that he met the basic requirements. My basic requirements was it needs to be somebody who's older, who's in a specific age bracket. And it needs to be somebody who's got children, because I have a child and I want them to understand as a parent, when I say, I can't go on this date or I can't do this thing. And then the one word that stood out for me, he described himself as an exceptional man. And I thought, who has the audacity to describe themselves?
And he is exceptional.
As an exceptional man, he is an exceptional man. So that's what drew me to him, and I called him. I don't even remember whether I called him or he called me, but we called each other. And our first conversation, we clicked. I think it lasted an hour or so. And I thought, wow, this guy, maybe he's right. He is an exceptional guy. And that's how we met.
Oh, love, it's beautiful. Love, it's nice. So then here he is with his kids. Did you prepare your mind for blended family, or you had this beautiful paradise, or you knew what to expect?
A part of me was prepared because I had a child. And I was expecting to date and make a life with somebody who has children or who has a child. So a part of me was prepared. But obviously, life is not like that. You can't be fully prepared for whatever experience. It's a new thing and it's a new person, and you're going to work things out as you start walking the journey. So, in a sense, the part of me was prepared, but other things we had to learn as our journey was unfolding.
So do you live with all the kids? You said it's 3 kids from
him and 1 from me.
Do you live with, do you have kids together?
We don't have children together.
Ooh, that's beautiful. Why it's beautiful? Because most people, they think it's a child that holds marriage. And once you get married, and then you must have a baby from that marriage. So how long have you been married?
We've been married 13 years now.
Oh, Sana. This is beautiful.
We've been married 13 years now. And again, I'm going to refer to something I said earlier, that this journey of growth, of self-love, of blended family, it requires openness. it requires openness, So I'm saying that because we've had this question from so many people. But why don't you have a child together? Because we looked at our situation and we decided it's not necessary. It's not going to serve us to bring another child into this situation. We already have 4 that we're responsible for. So you asked if we live with them. We don't live with them.
Yeah.
His 3 children live with their mother.
Okay.
We lived with his son for about 4 years when he started high school. So from grade 8 to grade 11, he lived with us for 4 years. That's our situation.
So were there any challenges that you faced as a stepmom? Like also maybe if you can break it down in terms of living with the child full time, which I believe it might be different. A person who lives with the stepchild full time and the ones that they visit occasionally, it's 2 different experience. So how was?
Sure. Yeah. I obviously we are all individuals and our situations are unique, and we must all navigate our situations according to the knowledge we have and the resources we have. And there will always be challenges. I don't think there's anyone who can say there's no challenge in my situation. We all have challenges because challenges are there to help us grow. So the challenges, I would say, firstly, we were kind of unprepared because he just decided in December that I want to come there. I want to come live there next year, and we had to decide. He's our child.
Yeah.
He's our child. We can't say no. Yes, we feel like we don't have the resources. We're not prepared financially, but he will live as we live. He will eat what we eat. He will, do what we do. So that was the challenge of not being prepared materially. But I think emotionally, spiritually, mentally, we were more prepared because we've had discussions about how do you view my children? How do I view your children? And there's a naivety about it, but it's also a noble decision to say, your children are my children. I will love them. How can I love their father and not love your children? And I have a child, and I would want my child to be loved and accepted fully. So I will do my best to love and accept your child fully, So that, I think that's the challenge, you don't, at the beginning, you don't know how you're going to integrate this new member of the family. And I think, fortunately, my son and his son, they just hit it off. I think my son was very happy to have a sibling. And I'm grateful and happy that he got that experience of having a full-time sibling living with him for those 4 years. And even now, they have a very good relationship, know. So, yeah.
Sana, that is so beautiful. Have you ever experienced, I would call it baby mama drama, baby mama conflict? Have you ever been in that situation? Do you even communicate with the mother of, do they share the same mother?
Yes, his children share the same mother.
Okay.
And even with her, I think, that's why it always comes back to you. You have the experience that you want to have. I decided early on that I'm going to be open, I'm going to be loving, I'm going to be kind, no matter how difficult it is. And in my naivety, again, I had an idea about how it's supposed to work out. I thought we would talk, we would have these conversations, but she wasn't ready to meet me. I think for the first 3 years that I was with my husband, she refused for the children to come and visit us. And she said she doesn't want her children to be under another woman's roof, And I decided, whether I understand or not, I'm going to respect her decision. These are her children, So that's what it was. And she mostly communicated with my husband initially. But then things turned around when her son decided to come and live with us.
Okay.
Then she called me and she was like, Ceci, she's she's 30 years old. She
Okay.
said, Ceci, Mushimayana has decided he wants to come and live there. And since he'll be living with you, I thought, it's a good idea for us to have a conversation. And she wanted to hear how I felt about it.
Yeah.
And, I decided, you know what? I'm not going to bring up the past. I'm going to forget how everything started. She's ready now to have a relationship. I'm open.
So be it.
And at the end of the day, it's about the child.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, she's had her own hurts from her relationship with my husband, and I can't judge that. I can't, what's the word? I don't know. I actually don't know fully what her experience was, but I'm going to choose to respect her experience, So that's what happened. So we didn't have conflicts outright, like as in exchanging words and fighting.
Those kind.
We've never fought, actually, like me and her directly. I think we both decided to be civil with each other.
Sure.
And I would like to believe that a big thing that played a role is her faith.
Yeah.
I've known all the time that she's a believer. She's a believer, and I'm a believer in my own way as well. And I think that created a common ground. That created a common ground. And I think even before that conversation that we had when our son decided to come live with us, I had made gestures of goodwill, to show that I want to support you. I understand that you live with the children full time, and I'm not going to say no. We're going to send money if you need money. If you need assistance with something, we will send money when we have it, So even when she wasn't ready to meet me and talk to me, in the background, I still played a supportive role. So when she was ready to talk to me, I think she had an idea that I'm going to be approachable. I'm not going to fight with her. So that's how it happened.
I love how that unfolded and how you took it as well. Oftentimes someone is going through the most, and because Rena Renyakova in the moment and want that person to make space for us, which is not fair, we ended up being caught in a crossfire. Because I can clearly tell Lore, she was in a moment of healing. Who knows? She was in a moment of preparing herself for you. And she did not want you to come at that time, to give her some space. And I'm grateful that you saw that and you gave her the space she needed. And everything collided at the end.
Yeah, so even now, I can't say we're best friends, we talk all the time, but I remember her birthday, and I'll send her a message and say happy birthday. She remembers my birthday, and even if we don't remember, our kids remind us. And on Mother's Day, I will particularly send her a message and thank her, because as you grow up as well, you realize, wow, this woman, she actually took the bulk of the work of raising these 3 children, so I recognize and acknowledge her for that, and in all those years, I don't remember her fighting with my husband, as in calling to fight, and, she gave us our space, basically, so I acknowledge her for things like that. And even when our son decided to go back home, or things were not going so great with school, she decided, you know what, Ceci, let him come back. Let him come back home. And initially, I had a moment of self-doubt. Is she doubting my abilities as a mother? Does she feel like I'm not doing the best for her son? But then I had to get over that and look at the situation and say, you know what? Ultimately, she has the final word because he's her full responsibility, And when I look back, I see, okay, things actually worked out,
for the best.
Things work out for the best, And there was a time when she said, I will raise the kids, I don't need your help, And it was hurtful, at that time. And I thought, But in retrospect, I realized she had an insight that I didn't have. And the insight was, as the biological parents in that family, your biological kids are 100% your responsibility.
Yes.
You know, and we're at different stages of growth and understanding and development. But if you have the means to fully take responsibility for your stepchildren, then go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
But we also know the realities that we live under. And sometimes you're not able to do equally for all the children.
Yes.
And we need to be able to accept that and be able to have those difficult conversations to say, my love, this is the situation we are in. And I feel that the best way to move forward with this is 1, 2, 3. You know, and you do the best you can.
I just love what you said. And then now it takes me into the next question where I want to understand what is the balance. Do you have a balance in terms of being a stepmom and a biological parent? Because what you just said, it's true. I'm step parenting, and here it's a choice. I can give what I have, and I have a part where I am parenting. I don't have choice. I have to give it my 100%. And most of the time, it doesn't necessarily mean what happened on the left hand can happen on the right hand. These two hands, they don't have the same power. One need an assistant, and one can do most by itself. How do you find balance?
It's very difficult, you know. And I think we always need to renegotiate and redefine what we mean by balance, you know, because most of the time when we say balance, we mean same. It must be the same, you know, and sometimes it's not possible.
Yeah.
It's not possible for things to be exactly the same.
Yeah.
So my stance is that as a biological parent, you have 100% responsibility for your biological children. For your stepchildren, mentally, emotionally, socially, spiritually, you also have 100% responsibility, especially if you live with them.
Yeah.
But whenever you interact with them, you have that responsibility. But materially, you might want to. It's a noble intention to be 100% responsible, but it's not always possible.
Yeah.
And you need to be able to give yourself that grace. And as partners, you need to be able to give each other the grace, you know, of saying, if it was possible, we would do fully equally. But when it's not possible, it's not possible. And that takes mindful communication with each other and with the children. To be able to explain to the children that this is our situation. And we're making this decision because we believe it's the best in this moment. And it has nothing to do with loving you less. If you feel like less is being done for you, we don't love you less. We love you the same way, but we are trying to navigate with the resources that we have. It's a tough one. It's a very difficult situation. But,
I love it. How have you dealt with discipline?
Discipline, I feel I've made a lot of mistakes because by nature I'm more of a nurturer. You know, being a woman, naturally I'm nurturing, but also my personality tends to be more on the nurturing side. You know, so it's a work in progress for me to be disciplined and to and discipline is more about being firm. You know, it's not about punishment. It's not about you know, hitting kids or anything like that. It's more about being firm on the decisions that we're making and enforcing the rules that we're putting in the home. So initially when my son was younger, I handed over the responsibility to my husband, you know, when he came into our lives, you know, because as a man also he tends to be firmer and he tends to be more disciplined. And I think that's his personality as well. He's a disciplined person, you know. So because it was his strength, I just leaned heavily on him. But now the advice I would give for people who are initially going into the relationship, the biological parent must take more responsibility for discipline with your biological children, and you are a support
Yeah.
to your partner with the stepchildren. So that's the stance I would take. And for me, it developed over time. And when we both realized, we have conversations, we both realized that my son is more receptive when the rules come from me, when the law enforcement comes from me, because we have a natural biological bond, that makes things easier between us. Even if we have a conflict, it's easier to come back together. It's easier for him to forgive me because we have that natural bond. And it's more difficult for the step parent, and we have to trust in love. When you are loving in your actions, in the way you do things, when your intention is to love, even if your actions don't look like love, eventually love wins. Because I'm saying that because I look at my son and my husband now, and I always think they don't have to get along. They don't have to have a good relationship. They're doing it because of me. I'm kind of like the glue in the middle. But I also look at my husband and how his intention has always been to be a father to my son and to be loving, and to learn from my son, to let go where he realizes, which I love here, I think you should step in because he's not accepting this from me, and even when they are angry with each other, he will still play the fatherly role of making his breakfast or his lunchbox or cooking for him, or
because some will be like, hey,
no, hangali.
That's beautiful.
The basics that are there, he continues with the basics, greeting him even if he's not greeting him back, so that's one thing I respect my husband for, which is, wow, this man, he's got amazing resilience. When he said he was an exceptional man,
he meant it.
He was right. So that's why I'm saying that now when I look at them and I'm like, wow, they have such a good relationship. And I feel I'm placing a lot of credit on my husband because he was the adult in the situation, and he took the higher ground, because he realized that he's dealing with a child who's still growing up. And I would like to believe that we've set an example for my son, now that he's growing up, he's a teenager, he's understanding things more. He's also walking towards my husband, not being resistant, not being rebellious, but, also actively working towards the relationship being harmonious and peaceful and healthy.
Sure. I love it when you're saying, your husband played a role. I am the elder here. I'm just not gonna go ka rhythm ya gage. Oftentimes, rena the old people, we're not willing to go in because we have more powers to work on that bond, to work on that relationship. I don't think they are capable. So we know the resources, and I think we have knowledge better than them. So put in some effort. And I always question someone or my relationship with my stepkids, it's not okay, blah, 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 blah. I always question them. How are you when I'm personally? Because oftentimes it takes us back to us as adults. Do your husband and your ex have relationship?
Yes, they hit it off better than than us women.
Amen.
Yeah, they hit it off better than us women. When he came into my life, we would go together, to drop off my son at the grand's place. My ex-husband live in the family home with his mom. So we would interact with them when we drop off and collect my son, and the two of them hit it off from the beginning, and they were referring to each other as brother even. So I think sometimes I admire that about men. They have a simplicity.
They have simplicity.
They have a simplicity about them, of not wanting to know too much about backgrounds and about whatever, they just find a common ground and they work on that, So they do get along.
Sure. I remember the life we went on Instagram back in the days. Tate Mahura mentioned that, look, I went in and I told him I am not here to change your son's surname. I am not here to steal him. I am here to help my partner to raise. Yeah. And I'm like, that's power there, because most men that don't gel nicely with the current partners of their baby mamas, it's because now they feel threatened. Okay, this man came here, he's marrying her, she's changing my kid's surname, like they're taking my kids away or my child away from me. And when Tate Mahura said, I went and reassured him that, look, I am not here to do any of those.
Yeah.
I am here in partnership.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's beautiful. I love it. Why social work? Why did you choose the route of social working? Guys, I don't know if you have listened throughout from the beginning. You can tell already there's some psychology in there. There's some social worker in there. Because I did not mention, and I did not want to mention it in the beginning because I wanted them to wait until this part. Why the social working?
For me, social work is a calling. Growing up, I always thought I'm going to be a doctor. And then at some point, my mom was a nurse, so I would go to the hospital sometimes to collect her, like, if there's transport that's collecting her from the hospital, or sometimes we're going somewhere, we'd start at her workplace. So being in the hospital, I felt uncomfortable. I realized, how am I going to be a doctor who's uncomfortable with hospitals, And I'm easily disgusted, so I'll be like, oh, but what don't touch it?
Yeah.
And my ID and whatever, so I thought, no, I don't think doctor is the right one.
Yeah.
And then I thought, okay, maybe something else, physiotherapist, but I also thought that's also in a hospital setting. I don't know, So when I went into varsity, I still wasn't sure of what I wanted to do, but I just knew that I wanted to work with people.
Yeah.
So I took psychology in my first year and sociology because they were about people, human beings, and then I took English as well because I thought, I want to refine my ability to speak and express myself and write, especially academically. And then in that first year, I went to the career development unit at the university, and I was just browsing and thinking, what can I do, Mara? What degree can I study? And then I was drawn into this corner, the human side of things, and I looked and I saw social work. And I thought, social work, I've heard that word before, but what is social work exactly? I didn't even really know what social work was exactly. So when I read through the brochures and the material, I thought, wow, this resonates with me. This
is
speaks
who I
to
am.
me. I think this is me. This is who I am.
Yeah.
And I went to the department. I applied. I wrote the entrance exam. And everything just felt so smooth, like it was just flowing. I thought, this is where I'm supposed to be.
This is it.
And that's how I went into social work.
I love it. I love it because it's such a gentle social work. By words. Being gentle, guys, I say ho tshwara fela. The words. Di a thoba. So what advice do you have to someone who is planning? Be it from a male or a female side, who is planning to walk a blended family journey?
I believe that every situation at the end of the day brings us back to self. It brings us back to self. And some of us, it happens to be the blended family journey, but ultimately everything is about self. So if you go into that with the mindset that I'm going into this to learn more about myself, to learn skills in how to do life better. I'm going into it with an open mind and an open heart, and to question standing cultural rules, societal rules about how relationships are supposed to happen, how family is supposed to happen, how raising kids and parenting is supposed to happen. So that's the mindset I would go with. It's firstly that it's about myself and learning. And secondly, I guess this works in any relationship, that it's going to be about us first.
Yeah.
You and your partner need to agree on things, because if you don't agree, it's going to be difficult to bring the children onto the same page.
Yes.
It's going to be difficult to deal with parenting, with challenges, with school, with discipline, things that come up in any relationship and any family setup, So communication, humility, the humility to say, I don't know everything.
Yeah.
I'm going to need forgiveness. My partner is not perfect.
Yes.
They're going to need forgiveness to be forgiven. That humility of we are learning together. We are growing together. And creating a safe space. I always thank my husband for creating a safe space that I can say something that I feel like this is going to hurt his feelings, and I'm going to try and put it in the best way possible.
Yeah.
But there's no avoiding hurting each other's feelings. And whenever I give that kind of feedback where I feel like it's going to be hurtful or it's going to be negative, he receives it in a way that makes me feel like you are not wrong for bringing this up.
Yeah.
So be willing to create together a safe space to be able to have difficult conversations, because there will be difficult conversations. Yeah.
Sure. Guys, Limukwile be in a space that you will be able to have harsh truth. Guys, there's harsh truth in blended family. There's challenging communication that needs to be spoken about, but they can be addressed when we create safe space.
Yeah.
So you better. Another thing is, I always say, when you're having the challenges in your blended family and you're seeking for help, always run into the hands of the psychologists, the social worker, the therapists that have walked the journey, because it hits differently. I know, I've been there. It's quite doubting when you're speaking to someone who does not know what blended family is and when your challenges are within that space. A lot of you guys asked me in my DMs, Maletswalo, who is the right person to run to? Because now we have tried all that we know. How we know we are still failing. We did our best. So now we're seeking for someone. I always said, run to those that knows this journey. Today, I am with this lady that has been there for 13 years.
Yeah.
And what I love about it the most is that they are surviving while there's no child between them. That for me, it's just everything. Because most of us, I'll say, Ndatelzwa is saying, hey, because let me just stick. So here we're talking about love. That's a decision, the choice they made. Or there's no ours. It's his and mine, and we still together as a family for a full 13-year-old. Sis Bulelwa is running social working, right? You
I have a private practice.
You have she does private practice, and trust and believe me, as soothing as you guys are hearing her, I think it's more behind the camera. So I'll share her details on the screen down below. Do run to her if you feel or you have given it your all. Don't be too quick to quit. We leave too early, prematurely, because we thought we did everything we could. Kanti, you never did. You did how you know. And someone else can step in and save your life, save your marriage, save your children. So she is the right person for you. Make sure that you get those details down below and then you run. This will be the end of our episode.
Thank you very much.
Your wisdom is such powerful.
Thank you.
And I can tell it was learned through the hardship. It's challenges. I'll say it over and over again. It's challenges that drives us to our wisdom.
Yeah.
So embracing challenges.
Yes.
They are there for a reason. From me, Maletswalo, and the team of Bond and Blend with Maletswalo, re a leboga for the love. Thank you so much for showing up whenever we share this wisdom, whenever we share this knowledge. Your love, it's appreciated. They say it better, those that knows better. And I can still say indeed, because we need you and you need us. And together we can make this country a better country. Love and peace. See you on the next episode.